I'm getting tired of people, standing up for what they believe in on Facebook, but not actually standing at all, ever. And it's cool, like, okay, go protest. Like that's fantastic, but that's also not doing anything either, because a real protest to things like this, things that we don't like, means not giving them energy anymore. If we don't like the policing system, then we need to stop giving to the policing system. If we don't like the politics, then we need to stop giving to the politics. If we don't like gas prices, then we need to stop using fucking gas.
Hi, this is our take 2 here, coming live from Los Angeles, the Creative Hills podcast. I'm Anthony Brandon, and today, for the second time, my amazing guest over here, Brianna Florian.
Hey. Yeah, yesterday before we started recording, I said take 2, and then I caught myself. I was like, that's weird. It's not. This is the first take.
Welcome to take 2.
Here we are.
But now we're here, and now we can kind of wrap it up a little bit quicker than we did yesterday. So first off the bat, I want to thank you. It's been 4 years since I've met you now. I remember a long time ago, you invited me to do a freestyle rap video 4 years ago, 2016.
Yeah.
And now from there to here, it's been an evolution, and we're still growing every day.
We're not necessarily freestyle rapping anymore.
Yeah, exactly. and our hair continues to change throughout the years. Your hair has changed completely. You have.
Yeah, it's grown. That's years of growing now.
Yeah.
I mean, and cutting all at the same time.
You want to go back to that same 2016 haircut of no hair.
I think about shaving it off all the time and like getting rid of that that pretty girl privilege, the pretty girl privilege that everyone thinks, oh, you get that because you're a pretty girl, or you're able to get in for free or get free drinks because you're a pretty girl. And I don't agree. There are definitely ways to get whatever you want without being attractive. And although we pretend like this world revolves around looks, it really does not. And that's something that I like to prove to myself, one, but also show other people as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's hard work that gets you places, and it's also yourself as a person, you being you, and not just the outer source.
Absolutely. Energy exchange is such a big thing, and it's more prevalent than how we look every single day, because we can look any type of way and still not be happy, still not be getting what we want.
True. I agree with that. And also, you're one of the early people that put me onto spirituality, the whole concept of improving yourself, not just in a physical way, or not just, I don't know, it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like spirituality mixes with your everyday life, and whether you believe it or not, it's something that's still there, it still exists. And if you want to talk a little bit more about your take on spirituality.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different avenues, right? Or subgenres of spirituality. And what interests me the most is the mind, which I believe to be the only important avenue of anything that we do in life. And as far as spirituality goes, and as far as being in control of our minds, I would say aligning our minds with our hearts, aligning our minds with our energy and our feelings. Those parts are what I choose to be most interested in, because I find them to be the most powerful, like the movie Split, and how powerful it is that when we believe that we can do something, or that we can receive something, and then we're patient, it always happens, always. And I've had, numerous experiences, and just outside the window there's a van driving by that says Aladdin. Also one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it takes a while to realize things happening before us. I remember when I was a lot younger, there were certain things that I wanted or I wished for, I manifested, and little by little, before I know it, years passed by or moments passed by, and I got exactly that one thing that I wanted so badly. And now that I had it, I didn't necessarily appreciate it that much at the time. And I think a lot of times we kind of forget these things of like, before you know it, we blink and everything we ever wanted is right there. Some way, some shape, somehow.
Well, yeah, and even the things that we don't want. And a lot of the times the things that we don't understand. And I've noticed in my own life is if I'm rejecting something, it's because in the future I'm going to have to receive it. So with me, like telling myself what's coming in the future, anything that I'm like, oh no, I'm rejecting that, or I'd never do that, or this and that, it always happens to me. And it's not necessarily like supposed to be a test or a lesson, but it's more so myself telling myself my future and kind of preparing myself for these things. And so I noticed that instead of like saying, oh no, in my mind just saying, oh shit, that's on its way.
That's on its way. It's true. And just like letting go of the outcome, just believing that whatever needs to happen will happen, and opening ourselves and allowing ourselves to whatever is in front of us. I think we ask for things and sometimes they manifest themselves and we don't necessarily realize it until later on, or we're like, oh, I want more money, or I want this. And then an opportunity shows up at our door and we're like, nah, but that's not actually what I meant, or blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
It's just like, you never know. Like maybe that one weird thing that you don't think is going to get you somewhere, that's what will take you to where you really want it to go.
Oh yeah. They're everywhere. Weird things are everywhere. And I mean, speaking of weird things, I guess that's why I started being a toilet philosopher.
The number one toilet philosopher in the world.
Maybe the only toilet philosopher in the world. Yeah, it was weird, right? It was something that was weird and has definitely put me above the average.
With that, the whole concept of it is you literally sit on a toilet and talk about different areas of life, your thoughts, your beliefs. And how did that come about?
Well, that came about because one of my neighbors would always FaceTime me to smoke a cigarette, and I was always on the toilet. And every time she called, I would just bust out telling her whatever I was thinking about. I was reading a lot of books at that time in my life. Wasn't really big on social media, and definitely just in my own bubble, in the arena, like the mental arena, just blowing my mind constantly with all these thoughts that I never knew even existed. I think that's my favorite part about thought, is that instead of rejecting thought, I choose to accept thought and as a thought that exists. There are so many thoughts that exist that we can tap into and recreate any way we want. We don't have to accept the thought as it is. We can throw other words in there. That's the cool thing about language. It's being able to change it how we want to at all. So yeah, she'd call me and I turned it into a YouTube segment. I thought it was so funny. I was like, toilet philosopher. Wow, that sounds like a great YouTube video.
And boom, little by little, you planted the seed, you kept going. I think what you said, you got up to like 7 videos until the 7th one hit past 1 million views.
Well, no, it was the third. Wait, was it the 7th one? Oh, no, it was. I think it was the 7th. The 7th Toilet Philosophy was the one that hit past 1 million. And then, is like slowly climbing up to 7 now at this point. I think now, though, I have 4 or 5 different toilet philosophies that are over millions.
Was there ever one of them after 1 or 2 or 3 where you were like, all right, maybe 1,000 views is cool, but maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or everyone else's negativity kind of came into your head and you were like, maybe I should stop these?
Not necessarily like toilet philosophy in general. Like I've quit everything that I've done multiple times in my life. Mm-hmm. I've given up social media more than 5 times. I've had blogs and websites that I've just completely deleted and erased. I've got up and left jobs, relationships, family, cities. I've done that so many times. Yeah. So absolutely, like I've absolutely even hit that recently where I'm like, this is overwhelming, and why am I doing this? But it's not necessarily toilet philosophy in general. It's not necessarily the negativity. In fact, usually when people are like hitting me with that negativity, it makes me want to do it more. Like, oh, you don't like it? Well, I've got something to say now. Now that you don't like it, I definitely have something to say. Love Shack, baby, Love Shack. Love Shack is a little place. I don't know the words to any songs.
But you try. That's the thought. That's what matters. It's the thought that counts. You try.
Just beep, 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 beep. Yeah, so there's definitely been a lot of like mental challenges as far as sitting on a toilet, and most of those revolve around my family. But I've always pushed my family to the limits, and within pushing my family to the limits, it's opened up the doors for everyone else in my generation, all of my sisters and cousins and whatnot, to push their limits as well, and to kind of open up our family to the evolution, right? To the hipster ways and whatever else we want to label ourselves as. But yeah. So toilet philosopher, I guess, is my top label as of right now.
I think that's great. Like I admire you always for being someone that when you want to do something, you do it, as long as you're not obviously hurting people. But for the most part, it's like you enjoy doing these things. You have a very like funny, goofy, like energetic personality.
Yeah.
And I really admire the fact that you really give zero fucks. Like as long as you're enjoying yourself, you don't care. You manage to care less about it. There you go.
Yeah, I definitely, and it all goes back to the mental realm. Like, because a lot of times when people give a fuck, they don't verbally communicate it. They just think it and they feel it.
Yeah.
And as an empath and also a telepathic empath, well, I used to take that all in, and then it would like paralyze me, physically, mentally, emotionally. It would paralyze me, and I would not really be able to function. I looked really awkward. All these things. Now, the like art of not giving a fuck has turned into, well, I will hear and feel everything that you're thinking about me, and yeah, I'm going to choose if I want to react with that, or if I want to interact with it, or if I want to ignore it. And those are three like very big distinguishments between how I am and how I come across to people. Because reactions, I mean, those just fly out of me sometimes, and I'm like, oh, shit, I'm not paying enough attention, I'm distracted. And interacting is more playful and fun, and then ignoring is probably the easiest. Like, don't care, gonna do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah. And I remember myself looking back at myself 4 years ago. I was definitely, and I'm still, sometimes I get closed and I kind of get in my own little bubble, but I definitely got a lot better over the years. But I remember for the first time meeting you and like seeing the way you interacted with people, the way you just went about, and that definitely got me to open up and be like, yo, like, if I want to do this, I'm going to go do that. If I want to fucking dance around crazy in the fucking street or go say hi to that random stranger over there, like, you can. And that's something beautiful. Like you said, you can go out to any corner and just make friends with anybody, because it's like,
Yeah.
It's really that easy. I think a lot of times we kind of down talk ourselves, or we complicate things in our head before we even find out what's the reality of things.
Well, so many things are complicated because of sexual attraction, which is another reason why I like cutting my hair is something that I love to do, because this like sexual attraction between men and women, which I guess is not just men and women anymore. I used to be able to say of the opposite sexes, and now I can't even say that. So now it's even more complicated than what it was before, right?
Yeah.
So now just sexual attraction in general fucking complicates everything. Like when you're around people and the first thought is like, is this person a prospect? Is this person somebody that I'm going to sleep with? Are we going to make out tonight? Are we going to date, get married, have kids? It's like, why is that? Why do we go into that instinctual survival mode?
That's a great question. I think the more I learn about myself and continue to grow, like growing up, I didn't really have a father figure in my life. So I didn't really know what was right, what was wrong for a lot of things. And I think I had to kind of learn this whole dating life situation on my own. And through that, I feel like at one point I kind of had the expectations of like, oh, if you're hanging out with a girl, like you automatically by default have like something has to happen there. In reality, it's like, no, like you can have friends that are girls, you can have friends that are guys, you can have whatever the fuck you want, and you don't necessarily have to romanticize everything. Right. I think somehow maybe it's TV, visual media, whatever the fuck. Like,
well, I think what you just said was like actually a perfect example, and I think it's something that maybe in the American culture we don't recognize as much, but and I did say American culture, it's a thing. Is not having our parents present.
Yeah.
Is because we don't have our parents present. I think that's what's pushing us to romanticize things. I think, yes, of course, the media and everything else has a giant play in it. But when these, as children, when we feel love and we feel it in those moments from our parents, and that feeling is so great, we want it all the time. And then we think that is how it has to come. And I feel like that's how people grow up is, looking for that within other people. And that's like one of the big things in the spiritual community is like, love yourself and you are one and da, 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 da.
with that, like the spiritual community has definitely opened a lot of doors from going all to these, whether it's Reiki sessions to going to, I remember some outdoor ones we went to in Vegas. And those are all amazing of like the energy of like when people just get together and have try their best to not have any external reasons and just come about as human beings and just share love unconditionally. I think that's one of the like the most beautiful things I've honestly experienced, where I was like, wow, like I really fuck with this. I want to be here more often, and just enjoying that journey. For you right now, what are some of the things that you think this generation's kind of struggling with, or that you'd like to see improve or change?
Well, first and foremost, I think the greatest struggle is our lack of action. And that our idea that sharing an article on social media is therefore acting and creating awareness, which is really actually not doing anything at all. I think that I'm getting tired of people, standing up for what they believe in on Facebook, but not actually standing at all, ever. And it's cool, like, okay, go protest. Like that's fantastic, but that's also not doing anything either, because a real protest to things like this, things that we don't like, means not giving them energy anymore. If we don't like the policing system, then we need to stop giving to the policing system. If we don't like the politics, then we need to stop giving to the politics. If we don't like gas prices, then we need to stop using fucking gas.
True. Facts.
And that's all there is to it. And everyone wants to complain and pretend like saying, I don't like something, this is wrong, is going to change it, is incredibly incorrect to me.
Yeah, like definitely. I definitely saw that of like, for example, people hating on the president. They hate on him. They're like, oh, he can't do anything right, blah, 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 blah. But they're just talking about him all day, watching his every move. And I'm just like, yo, like, go live your life. Go do something. Like, stop giving energy to it.
Yeah, and honestly, stop giving energy to it. That was my huge thing when we had the no DAPL or like any of the protests for the oil movements.
Yeah.
Because every single one of us is still putting oil in our vehicles and oil in a lot of other things. So if we really want to make a difference, then we have to actually change our lives. And as far as I'm concerned, 99% of us are too fucking lazy to do that.
Facts.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like things that I think people that are listening right now, I think deep down, they know exactly what the fuck you were trying to say or what we just said, but a lot of them either, one, are getting mad about it right now as they watch it, or they're like, oh shit, that might be true. Like, take a second for a lot of things, be like, is this actually true? Does this just hurt my way of viewing things? And I think that's another thing we have to question along the way. Yeah. But no, yeah, everything that you said is, I can get behind that. And right now, with all these movements going on, like, just take action, initiative, wherever you want to change, whatever you want to do, just
what I think personal
something.
Action too, not necessarily trying to talk. There's no need to convince everyone of it. If you don't like something, then change it for yourself.
Yeah, it all starts with us first.
Yeah, absolutely. Change the man in the mirror, and then your life and everything around you changes. And that we make these small impacts that are actually much bigger than we'll ever recognize by just changing our energy. By just consciously saying, I don't want to feel like this, I'm going to change it, changes everything around us.
I think we look for external solutions and internal problems.
Yeah, and don't realize that that's just creating the loop of chaos.
Facts. Up to this moment in your life, what are you the most proud of?
I would definitely say I am the most proud of mending my relationship with my mom, and how like I victimized myself for years and years, most of my life. I'm still young, only 26, right? But I had this like idea that my life was terrible because of my mom or this, that, and the other. And then I just eventually shifted my mindset to say, like, my mother is my mother. She did the best that she could. And now I have the opportunity to do the best that I can. And if I want a relationship, then I'm going to have to be the daughter that she wants. Now, not necessarily, I'm definitely not following her rule book, but I am rooted in what my mom believes a daughter to be, you know, whether it's answering calls or sending her text messages or telling her I love her. Those are things that I'm now willing to do.
Gotcha. I love that. I think those kind of connections are really important. And yeah, it's all about the mindset, the way you view things. I think a lot of times we either play the victim, take things for granted, or just we're all over the place. And a lot of times it takes maturing and growing older and also seeing ourselves in the same positions our parents were to be able to really look at their perspective on things as well and be like, okay, like they're just doing them at the end of the day. They're just doing them.
Yeah. And it's fine to recognize that our world revolves around us.
Yeah.
Because it does. As individuals, our world revolves around us. But as mature individuals, as conscious individuals, to recognize that my world revolves around me and your world also revolves around you. Now, if I want to make the best out of the two worlds colliding, that's the most powerful choice that I can make is, you know, what is the best of those two worlds colliding?
Yeah, good point. So I want to talk about how your books and how you're also an author. You've published so far. You have your book Duel that's out now. You can go get that.
It's on Amazon right now.
You can go get that on Amazon. But aside from that, you said you want to put out 2 more books.
Yeah, I've got 2 books that I want to publish myself. So I've branded Whose Thought Anyway, all because of telepathy, right? All because of these thoughts that we're all constantly having are coming from all different places in the world. Even your roommate today saying like, oh, I'm just a body in my mind. I don't like that guy. You know, and it's funny because a lot of people say stuff like that. Yeah. They might not even recognize it. You know, they might not know what they're saying. So I wanted to brand Whose Thought Anyway, also to like pull it from like a narcissistic Brie Fresh, right? That's who I am. Mm-hmm. And to pull it from, why does someone want a shirt that says Brie Fresh on it when they can rock a brand that means something? Whose Thought Anyway? Yeah. And so with that, I've got 2 other books that are going to be coming out. One that kind of goes hand in hand with Duel. It's kind of like the Dear Diary of my poetry book. It's like the words in between the lines of Duel is what Unbecoming is. And then Tales of Connection, just little snippets of random moments in my life that I've experienced telepathy or connection or coincidence or synchronicity that were just like quick, mind-blowing, and show other people that these little things, if you pay attention to these little things, they happen more and more and more.
I love that. For everybody watching right now that's like a young creator or somebody in the room like aspiring to be somebody spiritual, maybe not spiritual, what kind of advice would you give them on this human journey that we're experiencing?
Well, definitely for anyone aspiring to be anything, I say to just go do it. You know, now I don't always suggest like giant physical changes. Yeah. Because those can be a lot more stressful. But if there's something that somebody's feeling, that to try it. There's so many things that I've tried that I stopped doing and then recognized, well, it wasn't even my thought anyway. Just to get out there and give it a try. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The setup or the aesthetic doesn't have to be figured out right away. It doesn't have to, you know, be color coded or black and white. Just doing something and then letting yourself know, like, I did it because I felt like it.
Yeah, I think nowadays it's easy to wait or make excuses and wait till the perfect moment to have everything figured out. But reality is, like, with this, like, I'm still figuring shit out. Like, every week I'm having a little bit of a different camera angle or figuring something out and different branding, different perspective. And that's just the evolution of, like, I'm 13 episodes in right now, which isn't a lot, but it's just like it's 13 more than what most people have. So it's like just little by little, take it one step at a time. If you can't go full all in, and just know progress will be made along the way. It's like, it's at the end of the day, life is a marathon. It's like you never know when you'll go, but while we're here, we have the time to. There's so much bullshit we waste our time on. So it's like, if you really genuinely take time to do something that can do something for you or that you genuinely enjoy, go do it. Like,
but yeah, and we waste most of our time thinking about things instead of just doing them.
Yeah, by the time we think about whether or not we did something, we could have already done it.
We could have done it 4 or 5 times over.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
I think that self-doubt is really what keeps us from going somewhere. Like I had a friend the other day, just like yesterday, I think he texted me, oh, like I'm thinking about moving to New York or blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, but I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, I feel like I had the same train of thought before moving to LA. And I was like, oh, like what if this goes wrong or blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I think deep down for those kind of thoughts, we know the answers to them. We just reach out to other people and search for validation of you're doing the right thing. When in reality, we know deep down the hard choice that we have to make.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have that thought if it wasn't possible for us. Yeah. And that's something else that I want people to consider in the mental realm is that you're never going to have a thought that doesn't belong to you. Yeah. And even though it's coming from somewhere else, it still belongs in your realm. There are zillions of thoughts floating around in this reality, and you better believe that you're only hearing maybe 1,000 of them. So those are yours. Do something with them. There's no reason to question or doubt something that says get up and do it, especially because that the power in faith is also one of the greatest powers that there is in this reality. To get up and go do something, that's it. Instead of arguing with it, and people argue with themselves all the time, and that's what slows them down. Well, no, I shouldn't because just say yes. Just be a yes man, like that Jim Carrey movie.
There you go, exactly. And another thing is like, I really want to encourage everybody to just go for it. Like, I think I'm still learning to explore the outside and the unknown, better yet, explore the unknown and dive in, get my feet wet. I'm still learning myself, but the more I get older, the more I progress, the more I do things with my life, the more I realize, take those risks, go on whatever journey your heart desires. If you see someone you're attracted to, if you see someone that looks like they could be a cool friend, like go talk to them. Like you never know what will make a difference, and like literally one interaction can change your entire life for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
There you go. So go shoot your shots, go slide into DMs, go do whatever the fuck you want.
And definitely don't shame yourself, because I think that's what stops people from doing things is the shame and the guilt. That they present to themselves in their minds. I mean, that stops me all the time. It's like, oh, well, then why? You know, why not? At least I can say I tried. Well, like I said yesterday too, the door's open. There's no reason not to open the door. And once the door's open, why close it? And why lock it? Like, why lock the door? You never know. You never know when someone's just going to walk right in the house and you're going to be like, oh, hey. Can't tell you how many times I just walked into random parties and I'm still great friends with those people because they're like, where in the F did you come from? I said, I don't really know. I just followed a bunch of cars. And here I am.
That's true. No, honestly, like you never know where life will take you, and just fucking enjoy the journey, enjoy the route, just enjoy and make the most possible out of this whole experience. What's one truth, like out of everything you know in life, if there's only one thing that you could say is your truth, what would you make that truth be?
Well, the only truth is my truth is that I'm addicted to thought, and that thought is not only my addiction and my kryptonite, but my best friend. And I wouldn't be here without thought.
Love that. Who's thought anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Love that. But for everybody watching, thank you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, to the Creative Hills. More videos on the way with a bunch of cool creatives. And go subscribe to my friend over here, my friend Bree.
Yeah.
Plug yourself.
You can find me on pretty much every social media outlet under Bree Fresh or Brianna Florian. Or if you start searching Toilet Philosophy, you'll find me too.
There you go. And you can find her on Patreon as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My Patreon. That's more of a fetish community thing. So if you really like what happens on the toilet, you can find me on Patreon.
There you go. Any last words for everybody watching?
Well, I guess the same thing I said last time is to keep up with you, because I mean you have evolved so much and you're still so young, and came out here to LA and you're like, hell yeah, I'm taking it on. So I think for anyone to just keep up with you, because you definitely go with the flow, and you've got such a good heart, and you're a great person to have around.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But thank you guys for watching, and till next time.
Later, Gators.
See ya.